Thank you, Dr. Dunn, Governor Herbert. It's good to be with you today. As the Governor mentioned earlier, the executive order and the public health order that has been in place and will be in place until midnight tonight will come to an end, expiring. And when those do come to an end, we'll have a new public health order that will take the place and return us back to the transmission index that was in place before this 2-week pause occurred. As a reminder, each week the counties are placed in a high or moderate or low transmission level based on the specific data about the spread of the COVID-19 virus in their communities. We consider, again, a 14-day case rate, a 7-day positivity rate in each county, and then a 7-day statewide ICU utilization to determine what level a county is placed in. And at midnight tonight, when the transmission index is re-implemented, 26 of the 29 counties in Utah will be placed in the high transmission category. 3 counties, Daggett, Paiute, and Rich, will be in the low transmission category. The system, the transmission index system, should be familiar with most, but there's some changes that and some nuances that I will discuss with you now. In addition to just reminding each of us of some of the main areas that need to be paid attention to in the transmission index. First of all, as the Governor mentioned, masks continue to be required in all counties across the state, regardless of the transmission level. Masks are to be worn in public indoor settings and outdoors when physical distancing is not feasible. Social gatherings, again, as the Governor stated last week and again today, we're trying not to prescribe how many people should be in your individual home. We want to leave that to your discretion. So we've removed the limit on the number of people who can attend a private social gathering on your own private property. But we still want to promote the best practices as the Governor has done. So as for social gatherings, we still recommend gathering only with those of your same household. That is the safest way. But if you do gather with other households outside of your own, we recommend keeping the numbers small. And practice physical distancing wherever you can and wearing masks, even though you're among family and friends. The exception to this is, of course, when you're with members of your own household. We also suggest, for example, that you kind of think through the numbers of people that would attend social gatherings. For example, in high transmission areas, you might consider 10 as a number, 10 or fewer. And in low transmission areas, we might consider 50 or fewer. The key there is to just remember that smaller numbers are safer events. Just a reminder that in restaurants and bars, in high transmission counties, 6 feet distancing is required between parties, and masks are to be worn at all times unless eating or drinking, and alcohol sales must stop also at 10 p.m. Public gatherings, these are the larger gatherings that have an event host, like theaters and sporting events, weddings, entertainment venues. Remember that masks are required to be worn, and 6-foot physical distancing between household groups is required at all times, including the egress and ingress on those venues. High transmission counties, this is what I've just shared is pertaining to high transmission counties. Performers and athletes are exempt to this while they're actively performing at these events, and exceptions to physical distancing requirements at these venues may be granted by county executives. And across all transmission levels, the following measures are being implemented. So a lot of you have been asking about extracurricular activities that were put on hold for the last 2 weeks. The state continues to believe that learning in person is the best option for Utah students, and we want to do everything we can to try to preserve this. Now, focusing on extracurricular activities, beginning next Monday, a week from today, all participants in high school extracurricular activities, including the coaches trainers, and staff will be required to be tested every other week. And anyone who receives a positive test result will not be allowed to participate in the high school extracurricular activity until they've completed their isolation period. With club sports, and this continues to be a significant concern to us, although we love club sports and we love for them to take place, what we're asking, and we are placing under public health order, is that participants in club sports, recreation leagues, dance studios, gymnastics gyms, volleyball gyms, and all of these types of venues and activities, we are requiring that symptoms be checked and exposure is checked, or in other words, asking each participant whether or not they've been in an exposure situation within the past 2 weeks. So this symptom and exposure checking is to take place before each in-person activity, including practices. Businesses will now be allowed to have a little different quarantine protocol. And finally, similar to the K-12 protocols that we've implemented in the recent weeks, we're offering businesses an opportunity to have quarantined employees return to the workplace earlier than previously required. If an employee was exposed in the workplace, for example, that employee can be tested on day 7 or later of the quarantine, and a negative test will clear that employee to return to work. We're grateful for the team, including Dr. Joe Miner, Angela Dunn, and other epidemiologists that have worked through this to be able to put this in place. This is at the discretion of the business owner, however. So as you can see, we continue to adapt our response and trying to implement changes as we see the changes in data and other information. They're sensible. These restrictions or guidelines that are placed in the public health order are designed to balance the individual liberties and our collective well-being. They're aimed to protect lives and livelihoods. So I hope during this time that we can think about one another and what we can do as individuals in the name of a much higher good and a common good to all. Thank you for your time and your participation in the public health order and all that you're doing. And we wish you a happy Thanksgiving this week. Thank you.